Hi, I'm Paul Camillos and welcome to Shooting the Breeze. Join me and the STB crew for Series 8. Just hit that subscribe button and if you enjoy the pod, share it and give it a like.
And I think it's been made obvious that Nat has put a real emphasis on connection and relationship building, and I kind of have no doubt that she will have fostered quite a good relationship with all of those girls over these last couple of years that she's been in charge. And I think that is going to be kind of a key heading into the World Cup. You know, you have to, as underdogs, you have to come together.
Welcome to Shooting the Breeze. Joining me today, it's been a while, guys. It's Maia Williamson and Linden Moore. We're here to talk about Kiwi hoops, but we're also going to talk about World Cup, the Opals, the Tall Ferns, WNBL, Tauihi. It's going to be a really, really interesting show. Firstly, guys, it's great to have you back, as always. Really looking forward to this. But I'm curious, what's been going on for you? And I'm going to throw it over to you, Maia, first, because there's a little bit that's been going on in your world.
There's always too much going on. Well, first of all, it's great to be back. We always have good yarns and great catch-ups, and something exciting is happening when we get to go back on a pod, so excited to be here. What has been happening for me? I feel like I've just been ticking along, work, basketball, all of that jazz. Went to the Halberg Awards the other night, like we were just speaking about. Got to interview Hamish Kerr, New Zealand's supreme sports person, as he was crowned that night, and Valerie Adams, who is, in my opinion, the GOAT. And I was towered over by both of those people, so it was a great night.
So how'd you find the big event?
It was awesome. I was absolutely starstruck with the amount of people that I just saw walking in there. Like, you turn around and Dan Carter's right behind you. That's pretty cool. But
just casual.
Yeah, just
another day in New Zealand.
Yeah, literally. But it was cool. It was very lovely to chat with Hamish and Val. They were super chatty, down to earth. Exactly what you'd expect Kiwi athletes to be like. Yeah, a bit of a pinch me moment. Yeah, just happy to be here.
Yeah, but of course, they were all thinking, that's Maia Williamson. She's going to get to we're going to get interviewed by her.
Hamish Kerr was super excited to see me.
And Linden, what's been happening for you over in the old Blighty?
Yeah, it's been doing a lot of teaching, a lot of basketball, and that's been pretty much my eat, sleep, repeat lately. Got to go down to have my first SLB trophy final experience on February 1st. Down in Birmingham, first time in Birmingham. Will not be my last, as I'm going back later in the year for a work event. So we'll be going to the arena, so not much recon scouting. But that was my first time going down and being part of like an away team bench. So that was crazy. But a couple of my friends and I, we went early, and because the ticket was included with the women's and the men's were included in one ticket, so that was cool. Got to see the Sheffield Hatters win the Betty Cadena Trophy, so that was cool. And then I went over to the bench and see Megan Mullings after her MVP performance, which was really cool, really special. And then sweet out GB women in a couple weeks, sweet out GB men tonight up in Newcastle. Yeah, I haven't really taken a beat since coming back in January from a 7-week travels.
You're running out of breath just saying it all.
Yeah, I have not had a proper night's sleep, which is slightly worrying. But lots of matcha to get me through, and lots of adrenaline and passion and excitement to be back. So can't complain.
Can we get a wellness check on Linden?
So look, I got to ask one question. How are you finding the 3 or 4 hours of daylight?
Yeah, this is the first week where we've had successive sun since I don't know when. So when I came to New Zealand in December, I was like, whoa, what is this yellow thing that's shining at me? It blinded my eyes. But we're getting lighter past 5 p.m. now here, which is nice, which also signals I can start walking to games from my house because I live near the river. It's like my favorite route to take, but I can do it now. Well, I can't do it now as we're at the only end of February, but very soon. But yeah, no, it's nice. Yeah, nothing phases me. anymore. The only time that it really phases me is when we had torrential wind and rain, and I was basically having to take like a kayak home, and I got stuck in it twice. That was bad, and not at all traumatizing. Other than that, it's fine.
Well, see, there's a whole new sport for you to cover. Whitewater kayak, whitewater canoe.
Well, it's, now that you say that, I'm not sure there's a kayak or canoeing team here. I just know, because New Zealand's so good at that. And I should also say, shout out to Team New Zealand in the Olympics, because I've been watching that while over here and wearing all my New Zealand gear. So anyway, yeah, shout out to really good athletes. But yeah, I should probably start picking up kayaking and canoeing, and I'm sure there's some kind of sport for it here.
There is a lot, actually,
that I haven't picked up on. I know in New Zealand there is.
There is in the UK. I was at the Australian Open on the weekend, and I was actually talking to somebody who represented the UK at the Olympics, and I said, "Oh, how big is it in the UK?" It's like, "Oh, it's huge, everywhere." And they don't just have the artificial facilities; they also do it in rivers. So,
wow,
yeah,
wow,
it's really big. Anyway, enough about talking about boats and paddles. Let's get into the hoops. I want to kind of ask about the Tall Ferns. It's a young team. They're heading off to Puerto Rico soon. World Cup qualifiers, all sorts of interesting stuff happening. So I really want to hear what you got to say about it all.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Linden, but I'm excited. I think we're definitely in a new wave now for Tall Ferns basketball with this new kind of approach and structure. 3 debutantes in amongst the Tall Ferns squad. I think most notably is Emma Rogers, who had a breakout season in the Tauahi. 18 years old, but I reckon will be a big part of the rotation. She was most improved player in Tauahi, the youth player of the year, the Rapid League MVP, and of course Rapid League All-Star 5 as well. I'm pretty sure she took home like 50% of the awards.
I think she did.
Yeah.
But when you watch her play, it's like, oh, that totally makes sense. And she doesn't play as young as she is.
100%.
Like when I saw her name, it was more of who was there that I noticed right away versus maybe who is missing. But Emma's name was the one where I was like, oh, yep, this makes total sense. But I was super excited when she got invited to selection camp. And I was like, well, as she should. That just makes sense. And she's earned it.
Totally. Like I said, breakout year. Plays a real prowess, and they're going to need a couple of backup point guards. So, and then her cousin, Briley Rogers, who had a great year with the Queens as well, is another debutante. And then Jade Kirisome from Tauranga Whai, who had a great impact last year in Tauahi as well. So exciting to get 3 new in the mix, like I like that Nat is taking a bit of a gamble on that, but these girls have earned their way into the squads. Exciting to see. And then you look at kind of the more experienced ones, which is kind of unbelievable when you look at the most capped player is Taylor Dalton, who is only just graduated. And then second most capped is Palace Hokianga, who just graduated high school. Yep, wow. 13 games under her belt. And then you got Tegan Graham, Rebecca Pizzi, Shan Rabati, Emi Shearer, Ash Drawbridge, Ella Tofano, and Charlotte Whitaker. So 82 games of experience across the board. So definitely an experience, Linda.
Yeah, it's I will say I was up later than planned because I didn't realize the squad was being released, and so I was up later analyzing and chatting to people and doing things as you do. But it was like, and it's basically all a ton of the sentiments have been what you said, Maya. I totally agree. Is this an entire surprise? No. And given the availability, the window and in the year, place in the year that which we're sitting in at the minute, and some of those other kind of factors, this is probably a team that I expected. I would say most of them are, I think everybody on there is probably who I probably would have anticipated on there. Really stoked for Brierly. I think that's going to be a really good chance for her. And she's stepped up numerous times before, as you said, and has had a really good season with the Queens. And I always feel like she's been kind of one of those that hasn't always been maybe noticed as much. So to see her get that nod now is really encouraging. And of course, Emma Rogers, I'm happy for Jade. Really what I've taken from this is the experience that these girls are getting is, in Tauahi and WNBL and coming back from college, it's paying off. And we're starting to see kind of that slow rebuild of what the Tall Ferns program can and will be. And that, having Nat, starting to see Nat's influence in that. And so we're starting to really kind of see that mark, and starting to kind of see like the vision come together a little bit slowly but surely. So I'm excited about it. It's going to be, as always, no tournament's going to be easy, but looking forward to seeing kind of how they can craft a response to some of these tough teams. And I have no doubt and full faith that Nat is going to inspire some confidence, and that they're, going to be hard at work, and ready to do this World Cup qualifying tournament.
Just to that point, like, I don't think that a lack of experience translates to like a lack of performance. I think kind of these last few years has been a rebuilding phase. When we lost to Puerto Rico, coincidentally, in the Olympic qualifiers probably 2 to 3 years ago, that was an inexperienced roster, and we were that close to qualifying for the Olympics. And then obviously we performed well at the Asia Cup within this kind of similar build up and the Trans-Tasman throwdown. We gave Aussie a good run for their money when they had definitely the stronger squad. So I think this group has a good amount of synergy, and because they are kind of familiar with each other in the style of play and familiar with Nat, I think there's a lot of streamline across the group, and clearly there's a lot of buy-in, amongst the squad and with Nat and the new coaching system. So I actually think that they can go out there and compete. They have nothing to lose given that they're inexperienced, and they all play with kind of, a chip on their shoulder. And I think there's no one in this team that's going to kind of have an attitude of entitlement or anything, because they are just they'd just be so stoked to be there. So I think they can definitely, go out and get it done and qualify for the World Cup, despite, having a lack of a games across the board. I think maybe when you look at it upon first glance, you are, a little bit surprised, but based on how we have performed the last few years with inexperienced rosters, I don't think that's going to be an issue at all, to be honest.
Yeah, and I also, and I'm hoping, because I think if you look at the schedule, just blanket, and you think it's like, and it may look kind of worrying, but I'm hoping they take the approach, Maia, that you've just described, and kind of breaking down to that nuanced take, because the USA is going to be tough. Italy's going to be tough. All of them, Senegal, Puerto Rico, Spain, it's going to be all tough. But at the same time, you know what? There's a lot of potential. And like you said, Maia, look at what they thrown out against an Opals team where that was, experience and that caliber, and, like you said, the Olympic qualifiers. So it's not impossible. And it's going to be a really good learning block for them. And they always play hard, and they always give it 100%. And so I've got full faith that this could be, we're going to see some exciting games, I think.
100%. I mean, if I was them, and, granted it's going to be a tough game against the USA, but what a privilege it is to play against the best team in the world, right? Like, if I'm Emma Rogers and I'm debuting and I get to play against someone like Caitlin Clark, that is like an unbelievable experience that you're never going to get.
She wins the Never Have I Ever challenge.
Literally, exactly right. And the last time we played them was 2008, so it's really cool that we get to experience that. And this is only our 9th time ever playing them, because there's just not really many worlds where we cross over. And I think I was reading kind of the announcement when it came out, and Coach Nat Harris was kind of like, you take the USA and the Spain game for what they are, given where they are in the world, but you really focus and lock in on the Italy, Senegal, and Puerto Rico games, because they are definitely winnable. Like, you're probably not going to beat USA, probably not going to beat Spain, but other three are definitely winnable, and that's what they need to get done to actually qualify for the World Cup. So, like I said, not out of reach.
And you don't know, especially in who shows up on the day. And I totally agree with what you just said, Maia, in terms of USA and Spain. That's probably going to be a little bit more predictable. But the other 3 games, like you said, which is what they need to win, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. And, by the end of it, could be shocking everybody. And yeah. I think so. And I've got full belief that it could be a reality. It could be. Is it going to be pretty? That's a whole different matter. But it's about and there's some games where it's kind of like, that's, nails on a chalkboard, and I have to walk away because like my heart rate can't take that. But there's so much potential, and you never know who's going to show up on. And I think that's probably part of the beauty of this, is that the reputation of these countries is that they can put out some really strong performances, but so can the Tall Ferns. Like, let's not forget that. Let's not write them off entirely. Like, they're stronger than people realize.
You can't write them off, and I think one of the things that people kind of underestimate is the fact that everybody looks at the Tall Ferns, particularly a team as young as this, as being the underdogs. and, embrace it. You got nothing to lose. And, Italy, Senegal, Puerto Rico, yeah, they're winnable games, no question. Even the Spain game, depending on how hard they come out, because, looking at the roster, there's a lot of players in the roster that are coming off the back of what's been a very strong WNBL season. And there's an awful lot of the squad that have played together at Adelaide for a whole season. So one of the things that they're going to get out of that is that ability of having played together and having cemented their chemistry more, just from the fact that they played together, trained together, traveled together for a whole WNBL season. They're coming off of that, and then they're getting ready to go into the World Cup qualifiers.
Totally. I think that's the great thing about how small New Zealand is, matter of fact, is obviously Karen Mitchell was at Adelaide, so 3 or 4 of them have gone there. And then if you think about the Tauihi competition, obviously there's only 5 teams, so the chance you're playing with a teammate is pretty high. You've obviously got Taylor, Emmy, and Jade from the Phi. Pizzy's out there on her own with the hoi ho, unfortunately. But across the board, there's definitely a lot of synergy, and I think these girls would all be pretty familiar with each other, having grown up playing each other, or probably played, with each other at least a few times throughout the years. And I think it's been made obvious that Nat has put a real emphasis on connection and relationship building, and I kind of have no doubt that she will have fostered quite a good relationship with all of those girls over these last couple of years that she's been in charge. And I think that is going to be kind of a key heading into the World Cup. You have to, as underdogs, you have to come together, first of all. Like, you can't embrace being an underdog if you don't have any synergy and connection throughout your group. But yeah, I see that being a real X factor for them.
And I think that's one of the things that those 3 teams we've been talking about actually have to worry about, because, the Tall Ferns, if they come in and they've got that, they take the bit between their teeth and they're like, you know what, whatever happens, and we're just going to play as hard as we can, anything's possible.
Totally. I think the game that we played against Korea at their Asia Cup is a really good example of that. We were trailing a fair bit, and, Korea notoriously is one of the best teams in the world. And we came within arm's reach. Emmy Shearer just popped off in the last couple of minutes, and, we almost had them. I think that's a great example of it, right? Like, just don't put your tail between your legs. Don't be afraid. And I think a real benefit for this squad is the amount of size that we have. Like, New Zealand is not used to having this many 5s in a team before. Like, I can't believe there's so many available. Like Sean, C. Witt, Charlotte Whittaker, who's coming off an incredible Tauihi season, earned herself a WNBL contract, and I have no doubt that some teams are going to be calling her name for a full-time WNBL spot next year. Obviously, Ala Tofaianu, who's an experienced Tall Fern with Adelaide as well, and then Rebecca Pizzi, who we've snuck into the old New Zealand team, snatching her out of Aussie. That's a good lot of size, and having size at the World Cup is notoriously what we have, gone without. So that's a real kind of another sword for us.
Yeah, definitely.
So I kind of want to touch on something that, and one particular player who's been, really lighting it up here is Tegan Graham, with Perth. She's been putting in some amazing performances, and obviously, we're in the grand final series. So I'm curious to get your perspective. I mean, obviously you guys will have seen some of her games, if as many games as you possibly could have of her playing over here. To me, I think she's going to be one of those really interesting players in this mix, and that level of experience that she's going to be bringing playing under Ryan Petrick, who's a really good X's and O's coach. That experience coming into this squad, and particularly being able to work with Natty Hurst, who's gonna listen. A good coach will take the feedback from the players because of the experience that they've had.
Yeah, I think when we had Nat Hurst on the pod last time, she said that Tegan is possibly the smartest player that she's ever coached.
Yeah, she did.
That speaks volumes. Like, the role that Tegan can play, she's been a great impact player off the bench for Perth, had a couple of starts throughout the season as well, I believe. Played a really solid game in game 1 of the WNBL finals the other night against Townsville. Just kind of comes out, has that X factor, has a bit of spark, loves a bit of defense. You kind of need that of someone that's coming off the bench. And I think that IQ is going to be necessary in quite a young squad, and to have that trust instilled in you by the coach, like you said, Paul. Nat will be listening to her and like probably leaning on her a little bit. And I think she's a great person. She's got such a great future, and yeah, we kind of need those key pieces in our squad. So I'm glad that she's got a look in, and I hope that she's kind of an integral part of the squad for years going forward. I'm sure you agree, Linden.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'm happy to see her in the WNBL fold and the New Zealand fold. You know, having had her over in Europe for a couple of years and then now come back. And yeah, I agree 100% with what you guys have just said. I think, you know, she is such a smart player, and there's no doubt that she's gonna bring those smarts, and if she can do that, and you know, with a very, very good Perth team, you know, that's just gonna pay off dividends for New Zealand. So I'm really looking forward to having her, you know, and the team, and you know, seeing what she can do. I think she's gonna be a huge part. And I also, you know, Nat did say she's one of the smartest players, and she spoke very, very highly of her. So that's a good partnership there. So it's a lot of encouraging signs for sure.
Again, I think when we speak about a young squad and an underdog squad, leadership is really important. And, you know, you've got a couple of, you know, younger, more inexperienced players, and you've got a couple of players in there who probably aren't as comfortable in their leadership. And then, of course, a notable absence is Ezra McGoldrick, who actually has been the captain over the last few years. Obviously, going to be a mum very soon, which is so exciting for Ezra. Obviously, a massive congratulations. A big, big hole for the Tall Ferns. They're going to miss her a lot. But I think someone like Tegan Graham able to come in and have a bit of that valuable kind of experience and those leadership qualities is a good way to fill the hole of missing your captain.
Yeah, there's a lot of creative ways, because, you know, with McKenna out, Ezra out, it's still, you know, there's the way in which Matt and Karen, you know, coaching staff have looked at the kind of the available options. You know, they've done quite well to see, you know, who else can step up. And, you know, I think there's, you know, the ones that you've already listed, I think they're really going to do a lot. Going to be, you know, I think just putting the best foot forward. That's what this is about. And they're more than well equipped to do that.
So one of the things that interested me when I was looking at the list is, I'm going to go back to Tegan Graham for one particular reason. She's only played 3 games for the Tall Ferns. But as you said, Linden, she's also got European experience at the top of the WNBL experience. People might look at that and go, oh, she's only played for the national team 3 times. But in a way, that discounts the experience that she's got. I think she's going to bring a lot to the game, as we've talked about. But I also think, you know, I look at, you know, Shan Rabati, 5 games. I suppose what I'm getting at is the number of caps these players have isn't necessarily representative of the experience that they're actually bringing to the team.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that. I think because, you know, you've got Tohi experience missing their WNBL, Europe, national team experience, which is probably out of all of them, that's probably where it's lacking the most. I mean, maybe except for Taylor, but, you know, I totally agree, Paul. Like, you can't ride that off. And because they'll have played with players, especially as I know Tegan was in Sweden, and I think maybe one other spot, it's escaping me at the minute. Because I spoke to her when she came back to the Queens in 23, and she had said she said, you know, it was an incredible experience over in Europe because of, she was like, the caliber players that you're playing with and against. She goes, you can't put a price on that. And so she'll have had that experience as well. And, you know, I don't know if she'll come up at any of those players that she played with and against, if she'll meet any of these in this tournament. But, you know, you can't undermine, you know, what that means. So she brings that as well. And I think, you know, that part hasn't always been talked about. So she's got a really unique portfolio of teams that she's played for and opponents. So I think that can definitely be leveraged along with, you know, the other factors that she brings that we've already talked about. I think there's going to be a lot of promise there.
I think as well, so we had 5 games for Shan, but those were like 5 monster games. You know,
yeah, that's true.
She debuted, I'm pretty sure she debuted at the Trans Tasman.
I think she did, yeah.
She just absolutely killed it, you know? Like, it's 5 games, but if you look at the averages and how she performed over those 5 games, that's an incredible output. And it's interesting because you look at the older end of the age scale for this team, and it's still only like 25 years old. Like, Shana's still really young into her career, so you'd kind of expect someone that's probably 24, 25 to have, a limited amount of games under their belt for the national team, because that's just quite normal. But just in our case, it just so happens that, our older age scale happens to only be mid-20s, which, like, if you think about in a couple of years from now, that is dangerous, because we're going to qualify for the World Cup.
That's going to be real dangerous. People aren't paying attention then. What are you doing? I mean, if you're not paying attention now, what are you doing? But it's going to be, if you think this is something, just wait till a few years from now. We're calling it now. They're qualifying for the World Cup.
Totally. And I think the fact that the Tauahi is only getting better. So when these girls aren't at college and they're kind of stepping into their professional career, they're getting developed really fast. And then now we've just seen a rise in Kiwis going to the WNBL. We'll give them to you after they finish Tauahi, though, please.
Yes, we won't want them out that easy.
But, we're seeing kind of that rise in talent, so that when they come into the Tall Ferns program, they are, at a higher level and a higher standard than, having that, so that space can be focused on the elite skills only and the systems only, as opposed to having to develop other side of the game, skills and fundamentals. That stuff doesn't even need to come into the Tall Ferns space at all, because they are being developed so well within these Tauahi and WNBL spaces. And that's why I'm so glad that these girls are getting their shot. Like Emmy Shearer got to call up to the Caps, which is, extremely well deserved, because she had an amazing Tauahi season. I think she was pushing that All-Star 5 squad, and was a big part of why the Fire went back to back. Yeah, and she's only got 8 games, but she's definitely one of the best players in the country by far.
And she's always had that spark as well. And so to see that come to fruition now, I think seeing her when she was younger, I mean, she grew and developed heaps, but now it's just like, watch out. It's totally agree with, she deserves, to be called up to the Caps and get that opportunity. She's earned that. And she's played a major role. And she's someone, once she gets comfortable in the mix and she knows her role, and, the team kind of figures out where she needs to be and where she needs to be playing, well, look out.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things, that because of how young the team is, this is your core. Like, for the next couple of World Cup cycles, this is the core of the Tall Ferns. And when you kind of think about it that way, that should be pretty scary for the opposition, because this squad, there might be a few names that change here and there, but predominantly I can't see the majority of that squad changing over too much, because they're young, they've got longevity, they're getting lots of experience. Obviously, there's one competition in New Zealand which is growing in strength. There's the WNBL as well, which is giving them that opportunity. And from there's the opportunity for potential in Europe also. I think this is going to be, it's a long-term squad here.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you kind of think about it, you are missing those kind of top-line players, Panina, Tara, Crystal. I mean, Charlize is obviously at college, but if you think about the flip side of that, obviously, like you said, Paul, like in a few years, this is going to be our group for a while. Yeah. In a few years, when they're more experienced, they're older, that's a dangerous squad. And then you think about the focus that is also being put on kind of the age groups that are coming up as well. The recent selection camp for the squad, obviously, pretty much a majority of them were overseas, but, they invited the junior Tall Ferns along and they got some local girls in. So that means that on the depth chart now, all of those girls go, and then that can start teaching those systems to the younger girls who are, undoubtedly going to be a Tall Fern one day. If you look at the team that's going to the Under-17 World Cup this year for New Zealand, it is stacked. It hasn't been announced yet, but if you look at the talent in that age group, that is a team that could possibly break a record. And they did when they went to the Asia Cup. They were the first New Zealand age group girls team to ever come second at the Asia Cup. Yeah. So if you think about that as well, like, the future is very bright, and that's why I actually really respect the fact that the Tall Ferns have gone this way of the new structure of actually just focusing on being a brand new look and a brand new squad. And I mean, that happens all around the world in every league, right? You have rebuild years. And then I just think in the next World Cup, we could probably beat Australia.
Hey, hang on. Just
who did that? Who did that?
We'll have a friendly 20 cents on that one.
In all seriousness, the Opal squad as well, that is a freaking dangerous squad that you guys
Your World Cup. It's always It's always a dangerous squad with the Opals is kind of the motto that I tend to live by, because it's the depth that no matter how much you're, whatever you've got in the situation, you're going to get some quality talent. So, I mean, I've got major respect. And I just, look, as a basketball fan and having watched Australia many times, it's, rivalry aside, I have heaps of respect for them. And I'm looking forward to that Istanbul route at the World Cup qualifiers. I'm looking forward to it with a bit of nerves.
Yeah.
But it's going to be, but it once again is a chance to see what the Opals can put forth and, really make their mark. So it's not going to be an easy route, but I think it'll be a good one.
Yeah.
And it'll be
I
exciting.
I don't think anybody has an easy route into the World Cup. You keep hearing this whole, group of death thing. No, they're all tough.
Everybody's done it.
And remembering they're already qualified as Asia Cup champs.
But, there's a few games there that I'm really looking forward to seeing. It's always great to watch Japan play because they've just got such a dynamic style game. Canada's tough, right? Canada's
got a really good program. It's been consistent. And so I expect them to put out some good performances again.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to seeing how, some of the squad, step up. People like WNBL MVP Izzy Borlase, right? She's part of the squad. It's going to be really interesting to see how she performs. One of the other things, and I wanted to ask you guys about this, is particularly as the Tall Ferns squad kind of grows into a more experienced squad, how much opportunity do you think there's going to be for Kiwis to go and play in China? Because we're starting to see more Australians going and playing in China. Like Steph Reed's playing in Dongguan New Century. But I think there's this whole opportunity for Kiwi players to go into China as well. And it's a tough league, a lot of games, but it's also a great way to get a lot of experience as well.
Mm. Yeah, that's such a prestigious league, right? And I think, it's doable off the back of Tohi. I think Marina Whittle's a great example. She had a All-Star 5 season for the Pokai, and now she's in China.
Yeah.
And full transparency, like that, it's great cash, which is, not what you play basketball for, but if you have the opportunity to make a good amount of money as a woman playing basketball, you will absolutely take that opportunity. And I think the more that Tohi gets put across the globe, I do think there's opportunity for our people to go play there and just kind of represent the country a bit more internationally rather than just playing in Australia and New Zealand, as great as those two countries are. But I do think that our talent is getting to the point where they can seriously contribute to a team overseas. Like I said, that's not just going to Australia. It's cool to be able to see our talent go to other places and not just sit on the bench, but actually contribute. And I can see it happening for sure.
Yeah. I think there's got to be more opportunities for New Zealand, particularly if they do well in this round of qualifiers. It's going to help raise the profile of Kiwi basketball globally, to give those players more of an opportunity. You're seeing more also, there's more Kiwis going to play in the US college system as well. So the names are getting out there, the recognition is increasing. So I think you're going to probably the biggest problem that New Zealand's going to have is being able to hold on to your talent once people start, once other countries start realizing, hey, there's this untapped market. Because you look at the names, you look at the players that you've got going into the Tall Ferns for this squad, there has to be people out there. There has to be scouts. There have to be teams and coaches out there looking at them going, they're young, they play well. If we can get them early enough and bring them into our system, we can help develop them to working with our teams. I don't think that's that far out of the realm of possibility.
I don't think so. I think it's, especially like you said with China, and I agree with Maia, it's such a prestigious league, having had players go abroad before. And there was a tournament that's escaping me and that's going to bother me. But a couple of years ago that the Queens entered into is based in China. So I think that some of the Chinese leagues and some of the people who work in basketball over there are familiar with what the league brings. And I think they were, especially Toihi and what these players can do. And I definitely can foresee one day that we're going to see other, players doing elsewhere. It was great to see Marina get that China contract right out the back of Toihi. And, I don't think it's going to be the last time that we'll see that. And it's just, and if they can get paid, all the better. So, I think it just kind of it'll peek into a window of a new chapter and a new dawn of what, this can hold. And especially if we're looking at the current Tall Ferns team, because they are so young, there's endless potential for them to kind of end up wherever. And, New Zealanders can bring so much value. So, I think it's a good glimpse into what can happen later on for sure.
I do think, though, that you made a good point, Paul, like the retention of talent in New Zealand is also important. And, like, if you look at the Opal squad, for example, probably 80% of them actually just play in the WNBL because that's one of the best leagues in the world to play in.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that while we do give our Kiwis an opportunity to go play around the world, and I think the World Cup qualifiers and how well they do there might play a part in that. It's important that we do continue to develop the Tauahi League and, strengthen that so that people do still want to come home and play. Because people want to go play in the WNBL. I think Alyssa Pilley's a great example of that, like genuine WNBA talent, taking their talent to the WNBL, Hanzu as well. So, it'd be awesome to kind of get Tauahi to, it might take a while to get to the WNBL level, but to kind of strengthen it so that we do retain some of our talent, but also, give them the opportunity to explore otherwise. And I think when you're younger in your career, you definitely should have the opportunity to go play in Europe and go play in Asia, like see the world, but you definitely don't want them straying from home too far or too long.
Yeah. True. And I mean, I got to say, I'm going to come back to, we were talking about Istanbul, and before we kind of went off for a little bit, there's a couple of really interesting games that I think are going to be worthwhile following. Obviously, Australia-Japan, like I said, is going to be a really interesting one. There is a team here that we're going to play, and I'll put my hand up and say I really don't know a lot about them, is Argentina.
Yeah.
Right. They're a total dark horse. I really don't know too much about them. I'm kind of hoping maybe you guys might know something.
To be honest, I wish I did, but I don't think I know enough about Argentinian basketball. Funny it is to say, but that was one that stood out to me as well because for some reason I just kind of get a sense that could be an exciting one. And I also think kind of first game that also has sort of an exciting element to it. I'm quite excited to see that one as well.
Yeah. I really want to see how that one plays out. And there's a couple of other ones that don't have Australia in them that I think is going to be interesting, like Turkey and Hungary, because Turkey is a strong they're a strong country.
So I had to fly in front of my face. I thought I'd be able to get away with it.
I thought it might have been a kamikaze mosquito. But I think some of those other games that maybe, don't feature Australia in them, I think are going to have some interesting action to watch. And, the times, because of where they are, the times aren't unreasonable.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys get to watch the Tall Ferns while you're having your breakfast.
Yeah, that's not bad. I'll definitely wake up at 7 a.m. for the Tall Ferns. But you're right, you make a good point. Like, Turkey's a good one, and I think any, European team is always good to watch. I'm excited to see what Puerto Rico are like, especially given our history and them just sliding by us to get to the Olympics a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And then teams like Italy, it's kind of hard to know because that is going to be one of our games that we probably do have to win. But I don't think it's as out of retention as it, for example, the Spain game,
I think Puerto Rico, Italy, it's Senegal, and again, Senegal, I think those are going to be some of those games where it's probably more attainable than the USA or Spain. But seeing some Italian players here and just thinking about, I've outsourced a little bit of international scouting from folks at work who actually watch the Italian league. And so I have my New Zealand stuff. They have their Italian stuff. It's actually it's a great pairing in this case. And they're able to, and they say, it's, they're at least got some strong players, but it's not undoable. So we'll see. But also, I watched Turkey a little bit during Eurobasket last year in their bracket. I think they're going to cause a little bit of noise. But also Hungary as well, because they've got Dorka Juhats, who's played in the WNBA. So
European knowledge drop.
To be fair, I think every game is going to be exciting in its own way, whether the scoreline reflects that or not. I think there's going to be at least a couple of talking points to come out of all of them.
Mm.
So this could be a full-time job just watching the World Cup qualifiers. I wish we can get paid to do that, because I think that would be I would take that job in a heartbeat.
Okay, so anybody listening who wants to throw money at us to watch the World Cup qualifiers, give us a call.
I'll do it.
We're ready. We volunteer.
I actually have an Australian question for Paul. So notable omissions for the Opal squad that jump off the page for me: Courtney Woods,
Yep.
and Abby Ellis, because amazing season. And I think probably the most arguable one is Annalie Maley, just because she got left out of the wider squad altogether.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, I've always said this because, whenever an Opals team gets named, it's like, why was it, you should have had this person in, and why did they put that person instead of this person? And my answer to that always is, you don't know what Sandy Brondello's thinking at any point in time. But what I'm certain of is that she's been looking at an awful lot of film, both her and the other members of the coaching staff, and they've picked players that they think will be able to match up effectively against everybody else. Now, Annalie Maley, as a defensive player, she's, outstanding. There's no two ways about that. So you got to kind of think that from the coaching perspective, they feel that there's other players who can provide the defensive effort required and be able to match up with all the teams, the various players on the teams that we're going to arrive at. If it was my call, it wouldn't be exactly this team.
Yeah.
There are some players in here that I'm really glad to see. Ali Wilson, for example, I'm really glad to see her in the Opals. She's been spectacular with the Kangaroos. And we've watched her play for a long time, from even back when she was with Sydney.
Yeah.
And the way she's really been able to develop her game in Perth with Ryan as the coach, when she's feeling it, she's so hard to stop. And I think also that playing with the Kangaroos has really given her that confidence to just be able to, when you want to take the shot, which I think is going to help an awful lot. There's obviously a lot of experience there. Kayla as key anchor as the vet there.
Yeah.
But, you've got some really interesting names in the wider squad. Mila Soa, for example, there's a lot of people coming from Kangaroos who are in the Opals now, and it gives me an idea that maybe they're going to try to play a slightly faster game than typically the Opals are known for.
Yeah.
And, Maddie Rochi, I don't know if you guys saw her in the semis.
Oh gosh.
Right? When she decides she's going to light it up, it's like, look out.
Yeah. It's funny because I phrased it as omissions, but when you look at the squad, it's like, who would you actually replace? That's such and you make such a good point about you don't know the lens at which Sandy Brondello is looking at that, right? And what a tough group of talent to choose from.
Yeah.
Why didn't this person make it? And then you look at the roster and you're like, oh, well, I don't know who I'd replace, what a privilege for Sandy Brondello to have so much talent to choose from. I do think, obviously, the Annalie Maley thing was just unfortunate given, then she was runner-up for MVP, and then it's like, well, rah, in that argument. But I do think that you have to think specifically to the tournament that you're playing and who you're going to be playing against. And, I think unfortunately for Annalie Maley, while she's a great athlete and defensively she's great and rebounding, she's outstanding. But again, great problem to have for Sandy Brondello to have so many athletes to choose from.
Yeah, you got to think about it from the point of view of, well, if you've got so much depth of talent available to you that someone with the absolute talent that Annalie Maley has is kind of like, is she going to be the right fit for? Because in a lot of countries, that question wouldn't even come up. So, but yeah, look, for me, it's always, you got to try and put aside your own biases, because the coach is sitting there looking at it from a point of view of, I have to play. I got to play in my group is Argentina, Hungary, Japan, Turkey, Canada. What's the right mix of players to have in my squad to match up against them? Then again, once the World Cup draw comes out, then it becomes a whole nother question of, based off the draw and how it could potentially go after the pool rounds, what's the right mix I've got to take for that? So it's always tough. And I'll be honest, we've had Sandy on the show and we've talked to her about this because, some of the comments that come out, you kind of sit back and go, really? It's like, it's really easy when you're sitting on the couch at home.
100%. Keyboard warriors.
Yeah. But when you're the one who's got to sit there and direct traffic.
Yeah, totally.
On courtside, it's a whole different perspective.
100%. Like, not that I'm an experienced coach or whatsoever, but the situations that I've been in my teams, that whether that be school teams or rep teams or whatever, like when it comes down, someone always misses out that you think could have been in the squad, and you really have to like weigh things up once you get to the end of your bench. And it's so cruddy because you know that you're going to hurt someone or upset someone, or someone's going to make you question your decision. And only kind of the coaching staff will know why they did, chose certain people. But I'm not jealous of the scrutiny that basketball coaches get put under, because that is such a tough job to look down into the bench and, choose who you pick from.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, also, when you've got a lot of depth to pick from, somebody's going to be disappointed.
100%.
And more importantly, you're going to have fans out there who are going to get really vocal about it because, like, my favorite player did not get on the squad. Why didn't they get on the squad? Because look at how good they've been, and they automatically blame the head coach. And it's like, yeah, no, you can't do that.
No.
It's always, there's a perspective to how they're going to approach a particular competition. And also, for all we know, Sandy could well be trying out a few players to see, when we are going to the World Cup, who do I have to play as maybe, out of this crew is going to end up being the backup for Annalie Maley, or Annalie Maley may be the backup for them. I don't know. I don't know what Sandy's thinking. All I know is that you take the strongest possible squad, but if you're playing the long game, you're going to want to try out a few people as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we know one or two things about playing the long game, don't we, Linden?
Yes, we do. It's such an interesting position to see what Sandy's going to do at any given time. And I more marvel at it just because of the choice that she has. But yeah, it's a mixture of the long game, which is Maia has said we know very well. And but yeah, just matching up best for success. So I mean, it's unfortunately, there's gonna be flack that comes with that, but it's the keyboard warriors that are not in Sandy's position. And it's I envy, and I also at the same time don't envy the position she's in, because you've got that long list of talent that you can pick, and really depending on and like you said, Paul, I made that good point of, is she, for all we know, she might be trying something out. So by the time we get to time to go to Berlin, that we might see something completely, someone subbed in, subbed out, whatever it is, but that she's got the luxury. And so it's probably going to, you can afford a little bit of wiggle room, where other teams, maybe like the New Zealand side, where that's not necessarily a luxury. And it's, you know what? Yeah, you're not going to please everybody, but looking forward to seeing what it's always fun to watch what Sandy kind of gets to, what she comes up with. And I say that in the most admiration way. I think it's going to be, it's going to be good.
Yeah, there's actually one thing that we haven't touched on, particularly when we're talking about the Tall Ferns, and that is, what is Natty Hurst going to take from working with Paul Goris across the WNBL season? So,
that's a good point.
There she is. She's been working with one of the assistant coaches for the Opals. They've also, Asia Cup gold, and she's been working with him for the entire WNBL season. Putting aside the result, I mean, the Caps were in the mix for the Final Four till towards the very end of the regular season. There's a lot that she's going to have picked up, that she's going to bring into her own approach to the game, that is going to get applied to the Tall Ferns. And that's something that we haven't really talked about, but I think that's also going to help the team in these qualifiers.
Yeah, 100%. I think any opportunity to learn from someone as experienced as Paul Goris, Nat would be eternally grateful for that. And I think, maybe like, I mean, systematically, you have to do what works best for the squad that you have. But his approach to the game, how he connects with players, like how he reads the game, I think all those kind of things you can definitely take in your back pocket. And I think probably, if anything, will instill a lot more confidence into her to approach the Tall Ferns team. She's kind of getting comfortable in the role now.
Yep.
She seems like she's really established herself into the community and is here for a long time. So, yeah, she took away heaps from that cap season. And it's good to kind of, get her reintegrated into the WNBL mix. It'd be cool to see her, in Tauihi sometime. But, I can respect the fact that she's Australian. And what else? Obviously, Kieran Mitchell, devastating that her season got cut short with Adelaide, but that's still some experience that she had leading a WNBL team and a talented one at that. And then Mel Bennett coming off the back of the Tukumanawa Queen season where she contributes a lot. She's just been named the under 15 New Zealand head coach for the next 3 years of that cycle. Yeah. So, these coaches, which is, not just head coach Nat Harris, but the assistants also leveling up themselves, and not to mention they're a woman, which is also empowering. We're in a good spot.
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, it's been really good talking to you about this stuff, and it's not that far away. We're only talking about, a couple of weeks, and we're right into these qualifiers. So obviously there is one last question I want to ask. To you, Maia, what's the best breakfast to make when you're going to be watching the Tall Ferns play?
I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, well, that's a bad move. Golly goodness me. Marmite toast. Come on.
Marmite and toast?
The Kiwi. That's Kiwi to the core. No, either a Marmite toast or a big, good Kiwi breakfast, but
Okay.
Can't beat it.
Saucies and hash browns, bit of Waddy sauce in there. You're asking the wrong person because I'm a dinner gal, I think anyone that says breakfast is the most important meal of the day is just a phony. So.
Well, okay. So there you go. Argentina, Australia is 2:30 our time. So that's going to be about 4:30 your time.
AM?
No, evening.
Oh,
afternoon.
What's the meal that goes with that?
What's the meal that goes with that? Afternoon tea. What's afternoon tea?
Didn't know what it was going to be.
But cheese and crackers for afternoon tea. Never heard anyone.
Cheese and crackers?
Add some Whitakers alongside that.
Some Whitakers, yeah. Not that it's in my budget or anything, but, we'll go with the Kiwi.
Yeah, no, it's not many people's budget these days, I don't think, which is very
sad.
no.
But Marmite toast, that's actually, you can eat that in the afternoon as well if you really want.
The most versatile meal you can have.
Yeah.
So with the Whitakers, what is it? Just the plain milk or coconut, peanut slabs? What's the favorite?
Berry and biscuit. It's like Black Forest, but it's like the Whitakers version. Berry and biscuit? No,
we don't get that over here.
Oh, yeah. So then Kiwi, berry and biscuit. What else is good? What else do I like? Linden, what do you like? Help me out here.
I'm a dark chocolate person, so I'm very much of the dark mint one, and then the dark Ghana chocolate. My mom loves the shout out Mary, she listens to the show, but she loves this. She loves the dark Whitakers, the dark mint chocolate. In America, there's something called Junior Mints, which, I don't think are exported anywhere. But it's a lot like that, but better. And so when my votes came down for my graduation in December, and then for her Christmas present, I just ordered a bunch of the Whitakers Dark Mint, and I gave it to her for Christmas. And we made sure she left at least 6 bars to set her up. But that one's good. The milk, I'm not much of a milk chocolate. I do like the milk chocolate. I will say if I eat milk, it's probably going to be, there's an American One C's candies or Whitaker's milk. Otherwise, I'm pretty, like that. I stick to my tried and true. It's a constant staple in my life. Again, when I can afford it. So I don't really branch out as much, but a cheese and crackers plate with maybe some grapes and some dark chocolate, then I'm set.
Okay.
There you go,
the reason I'm asking is because I don't have a sweet tooth, so I'm not a chocolate person at all. Savoury is the way to go.
Wow. You could do a pie. That's the thing you need.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, pie.
Okay, there we go.
Good pie. Yeah, good pie is always a good way to go.
The New Zealand pie, though, because they're better than
Yeah, New
Australia.
Zealand pies are.
Oh, are they? Okay, so obviously we've also got to think about approaching Whittaker's to sponsor this one as well.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Pies. Whoever wants to sponsor me, I will eat a lot of your product.
Guys, I got to say, as always, it's great talking to you. I cannot wait to see through these qualifying tournaments. It's going to be some great results out of this, and looking forward to watching it. Obviously, thanks so much to you both for joining the show today, and can't wait to talk to you about how it all plays out.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This has been good fun, and yeah, a couple of weeks on, we'll see who's going to the World Cup. That's so exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as always, really great to be on with you both. So yeah, thanks for having us on. It's going to be a good time, I think.
Oh, for sure. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you get our latest pod. And we really appreciate if we could get a like and a review so we can extend the reach to more listeners. And don't forget, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and LinkedIn.